If you see someone with hair that did not have hair yesterday, you will ask what happened, and if they say that they had a good experience with Berkowits, then probably that is where we want to get most of our leads from. Our job is to win the customer's trust, and we can do that, of course, with social proofs, and also maybe transparency now is what we are seeing. A lot of people will say, why do I need hair? And this is all about vanity. So I tend to remind them that it's not about vanity, it's about the feeling of when the wind is playing with your hair.
Yeah.
And it's that feeling that you're chasing and you want to get back to. People who feel good often also look good.
Yes.
Zenoti presents Growth Diaries, the fascinating stories behind the best brands in beauty, wellness, and fitness. Hosted by Sudhir Koneru.
Today's episode has a business model built on a breadth of services in hair and skin and was built in a company-owned format with a history of innovation and focusing on growing based on continuously adapting and keeping abreast of the needs of the customer. For over 27 years, Berkowits Hair Skin Clinic has been ahead of the curve, introducing India's first permanent hair removal, hair replacement, and even robotic hair transplants in NCR. At the heart of this innovation is Arpit Goel, an ISB Hyderabad MBA graduate who has seamlessly integrated cutting-edge technology into the family business with a deep-rooted passion for making people feel their best. Under his leadership, Berkowits continues to push boundaries with dermatologist-formulated products and a results-driven approach that is reshaping the beauty industry. How did they build a brand that blends science, sustainability, and self-care? Let's find out. Welcome to Growth Diaries, Arpit.
Thank you. Thank you, Sudhir.
Firstly, by the way, congratulations on building a beautiful business, right? I knew your business when it was only less than 10 stores when we first met. It's been wonderful to see you grow now to almost 50 locations across the country. And the first thing I want to start with was your journey with, in terms of the services, because I remember you were always known for hair and hair transplant kind of services.
Yeah.
So maybe you should expand and give us color, because I think that's the interesting part of how you built a very robust business is where did you start the roots of the kind of services you used to offer, and what do you do today, the breadth of what you...
So hair is still close to us. It still contributes approximately 35-40% of our business. But yes, you're right. At one point, it was more than 80-90%, and we were entirely a hair business. The journey started when we introduced laser hair reduction. That was the first step, because we realized it is not as technical as perhaps offering doctor-led treatments, and it is a technician-led treatment essentially. And there is what we also understood was that there was latent demand from our existing customers. And once we realized that there was a good response for laser hair reduction, then we added skin. And Dr. Anupriya Goel was my sister-in-law. She joined the business. She became extremely interested in anti-aging. She started, she became an international trainer for 11, a renowned celebrity anti-aging dermatologist. So, that's how we started. And I think it was a good decision, because now looking at how much revenue is being contributed by other services apart from hair, and it's often the same client as well. So we've that decision has actually increased our revenue per square foot, and our customer lifetime value as well.
Yeah, and I think in med spas, that's a good learning for most people, is that you seem to have followed your customer in trying to understand the same profile of the customer and say, what's the lifetime value, what else are they looking for, and continuing to expand the business. I think rather than theoretically expand and add services, I think listening to your customer very closely and continuing to expand the breadth of what you offer, I think is an important thing for anybody in med spa, because it makes their business more robust. As you said, you start off with 90% of your business being hair related to hair, and now it's 35%. So it's like without the other services in expansion, your business wouldn't have been as robust as it is today, kind of stuff, right?
That's true.
The beauty, wellness, and fitness industries touch our lives like no other industry does. And every brand that has succeeded in this industry has a wonderful story behind it. We have stories that engage, stories that we can learn from, stories that inspire all of us. And I'm here to bring you these stories and introduce you to the wonderful people behind these brands. So if you're enjoying this, do press like and hit the bell icon to subscribe, so you'll be the first to know when a new episode comes in. And furthermore, along the way, I think you've also invested quite a bit from a technology perspective. It's not like you're stuck in the old school. And I think in the med spa space, even though I am in the industry as well, I know I can't keep pace with all the innovation that's happening. One of these days, I have to show up at your store to learn about when it's time for my hair.
Though I think the journey started with the basic implementation of an ERP. And before that, we were using Excel sheets, and we were managing, of course, our presence also at that point was 5, 6 stores. And we could, kind of get around without an ERP. The first step, then Zenoti happened. And after Zenoti, what we realized was that we need multiple customer journeys. We need to build an online customer journey. We need to build a virtual consultation customer journey. We also ended up investing in a learning management system at our end to train our new recruits. Plus, I think we recently acquired a company, and to integrate that company as well, that LMS really helped us. I think it's now today we're piloting an AI-based hair and skin analyzer, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring in transparency for the customer's results. So this analyzer is able to count the hair per hair root before treatment and after treatment, the thickness of hair before treatment and after treatment, and even the active follicles before treatment and after treatment. And what we realized is that this is the future, because if unless we're able to communicate our results regularly to the customers, we are unable to one. It takes a highly motivated individual to complete a 4-month, 5-month treatment package without seeing results, and with the hope that they will see results after 4, 5 months, right? And what we can do is that we can motivate them to continue the treatment, to have high compliance. In maybe they'll start seeing results in as much as 45 days, 50 days. And that better results mean happier customers. Happier customers will mean more referrals. And then, so yeah, I mean, and I think you're right. So the space is evolving at an unprecedented pace. We have today, image analyzers that can exactly tell you what is the kind of what does your skin need. We can program them to also tell you the kind of products that one can go ahead and use. And more than that, I think we are also experimenting with a kind of a tool which will which can help you understand the cost of hair transplant online. So you submit a picture, and just using AI, we'll try and estimate the number of grafts that you'll need, and that will help us estimate the cost of hair transplants. So yeah, I mean, I think you were at the head of this movement. You were the pioneer. So
cool. So that's interesting. You're really applying AI the way I envision businesses in our space should be applying AI, which is around the actual service delivery and the rendering of the service and the visualization and the ability to track the results that you're driving for your customers, right? So that's pretty neat. And I thought you're today now also getting into, I don't know, how does this notion of a robotic hair transplant, how does that work? I mean, I've honestly not seen the system yet.
So robotic hair transplant, when we introduced it, was basically a machine which had suction assisted follicular extraction. So instead of regularly generally what we'll have to do in a follicular unit extraction method is that we'll have to cut around the graft and then pull it with a forceps, and that one, we had to go deeper to the root so that the root comes out, and second, there was higher risk of the graft getting damaged as well. So we introduced this technology about, I think now 10 years ago maybe, and this had a suction assisted extraction method where you just had to go in half as deep, and with suction it will pull out the graft, ensuring that the graft doesn't get damaged. But yeah, I mean, today there is a robot called Artas, which is the actual robotic hair transplant, which can scan your donor area and then it does the entire extraction all by itself. But at that point, yes, when what that was the only robot that was available, or any essentially machine that was helping humans to do hair transplants, and we introduced that about 10-15 years ago.
Cool. That's interesting. So in this kind of a space when technology is changing so much and evolving, getting new customers, one of the things is they need to understand it's keeping pace for people in the industry is hard. How do you go about making sure consumers understand that today some of these treatments are possible and they are safe and, the kind of thing? What kind of efforts do you have to expend now that you're at a certain scale? Do you have some people who focus on this, and how do you approach it?
So, I think informative content on social media, so maybe on YouTube, on Instagram, is a big help. And that is what our primary. So we have two primary goals with our media communication. One is to establish trust by showing results, and second is to inform and educate. And if we're able to do these two, properly, then we feel that is a good enough lead acquisition strategy as well. So. I mean, I think we have multiple specialists and even Dr. Anupriya who make regular videos on informing the clients, on also now showing treatment processes. So what we've realized is that even showing the complete treatment process, like a platelet-rich plasma or a Botox or a filler, is attracting a lot of views and a lot of curiosity from the clients. So there is what that means to us is now we are moving beyond the initial belief that do not show blood or do not show needles on camera or to the customer. It's also, I think, helps us be more transparent, and the customer comes in with that exact knowledge that this is what's happening. So yeah, I mean, I think information via social media is what we are trying to use here.
Cool. And I think that's interesting because most of the time people would think social media is about beautiful end result and, you promote this before and after pictures.
Yeah.
And that's pretty common in the industry.
Yeah.
Everybody tries to do before, after, and testimonials and all that.
Yeah.
But actually showing the end-to-end process is a fairly interesting concept. And I think it gives transparency. So even if somebody they may not believe what is the work involved in getting there. So once they see that, I think it gets them to be more comfortable. That's nice. I mean, most of the business I know do this before, after, and customer testimonials approach.
Yeah. No, social proofs is still big because what we are trying to, I think we're in the, our job is to win the customer's trust. And we can do that, of course, with social proofs, and also maybe transparency now is what we are seeing.
Cool.
More and more transparency is helping us win that customer's trust. That yes, this is exactly what they're doing. They're showing exactly the entire process online. So that helps, I think.
So obviously social media is a part of your marketing, as we were just discussing, and the proof and the transparency. But you want to give me color in terms of, obviously you've been doing this business for a while. How has marketing evolved from when you started, and the mix of marketing today? And is social the only lead gen, or what are the other mix that you have to invest in for marketing?
So when we started, like a majority of our budget would go to print advertisement, because that was, I think it still exists to some extent today, but essentially there was a mindset that if I see a brand in a newspaper, then that brand is trustworthy, that brand is organized, it's a perhaps a better bet than others. With the readership going low, I mean, I think it still exists. Print has its own virtues today, but what we are seeing now is that has shifted to information, that has shifted to transparency online. So if I can provide the right kind of information online, education online, and social proofs like we've already discussed, and when I say online, of course, this is mostly social media, of course, some kind of Google ads as well, but mostly social media is now where we're acquiring most of our leads. And uh, the third bit that is also developing now, at least in India, is that we are trying to add a layer of glamour to our marketing. So social proof, education, information, and glamour, the combination of all four uh, is what we are aiming at. And yes, referrals. I think it all comes down to word of mouth. I mean, if because we're in the business of delivering results, if you see someone with hair that did not have hair yesterday, you will ask what happened, and if they say that they had a good experience with Berkowits, then probably that is where we want to get most of our leads from.
I think, so often businesses forget the value of referrals because in our case, in the industry, the customer is with you for several hours in your store with employees. And so the quality of experience can translate into, growing your business. So I think, referrals is, I've found this consistently that it's an often overlooked aspect of growing the business.
Yeah.
Cool. So one of the things is in terms of, you did broaden the services that you have, but you really came from, as we discussed, going to business school. We'll come back to that in a bit, but you are an MBA grad. You're not like this technical guy who knows everything about skincare and all that stuff, right? You were kind of alluding to it, but can you expand on saying, if somebody really wants to expand into more services and research and learn, how did you go about doing that? I mean, in terms of adding the right capability in the organization?
So I think today we have a lot more information available at our fingertips than we did like 10 years ago. And at that point with my journey, I would spend a lot of time with vendors, with potential vendors. I would take a lot of demonstrations of products. I would also go to certain competitors who were already offering the same service and be a mystery client and experience the service there. And yes, read whatever I could find my hands on. And if there was anything, so I think essentially read a few clinical papers also. So the US FDA approval for certain machines, for certain technologies, what did the clinical research look like? What was the kind of result that we were able to deliver? I think what helped was that as a family also, we always had this vision that we want to be science backed and we will do what already has some kind of data attached to it. So it became easier that I just need to consume data and then So I mean, I think that's essentially how our journey was. I think information 10 years ago was available with slightly more effort. Today, I think it's you don't even need to maybe type it. You can say it and you get the information online.
Yes. And I think it's very much like Elon Musk, right? He launched a whole space program. Not like he went to college learning space, but he just read up a lot to learn everything there was to learn about the space. And so same way, I think today a lot of self-education is possible online.
Growth Diaries is brought to you by Zenoti, the software trusted by over 30,000 salons, spas, med spas, and fitness studios.
And so one of the things is, obviously you built this business, but you, in the middle of building this business, you took a break and went and did an ISB, that is an MBA. So that seems unusual to the same point what we just said, which is, hey, you could learn everything on the business. A lot of people will think, I never did an MBA myself. And, you just kind of learn along the way. So what was your thesis and advice around this whole MBA experience?
So I think... one, I always thought that I wanted to have a postgraduate tag attached to my name. So that was obviously one. But no, I mean, there was also learning. What I was looking for in an MBA was perhaps to start to at least understand how to think of a scalable company or how to think of a large business and what are the systems that will perhaps help me get there. At least if not, at least know the right processes that exist. Once I know that they exist, I can figure out how to implement them. That was, and of course, I think, the network, and no one should say no to college, I feel. It's the best time of one's life.
Great. I think, the networking and the peer group we form are invaluable in terms of going to college. And then when you mention, when you're trying to build a larger outcome, like it's not like you're trying to run a business of 10, 20 stores, but you want to get to 50, 100 stores. I think systems and processes become very important.
Exactly.
So there, maybe you can give some color into how have you over time figured out what metrics to watch, how to watch a store and to say, okay, this store is in the green, it's clear, it's getting there, and the employees are coming together. So more from a metrics and process perspective, how do you monitor and define that?
My go-to metric always is the number of visits, the number of guest visits that a clinic is getting. What I figured out is that around 300 guest visits a month, it is stable. It can function on its own. It can live its individual life. But before 300 visits a month, I need to support that clinic with marketing. I need to support the processes, etc., etc. And to do that, to get to 300 visits, what we are trying to do is we are trying to essentially, for example, for treatments, which I know that there is a next session coming up. For some treatments, it will be 20 days after. For some, it will be 1 month after. We tend to add these guests in the Zenoti waitlist at the time they consume their appointment, and for a day, maybe 20 days after, 30 days after, and the admin department of the clinic, the front office, will reach out to these clinics on that day, to reach out to these clients on that day, and ask them for the next appointment. We share regular data with them, and we call this our drop-off data. Because customers who have been consuming our service but have paused or have stopped coming to us or have not consumed this service. So one, this helps us deliver treatment results. This ensures that the efficacy of the treatment is how it should be. And of course, then with more visits, that ensures that we also get better customer satisfaction if we have better customer results.
Cool. Great. So I think, so the scale aspects, even earlier you mentioned it's important to have the systems and process, like having a learning management system, making sure everybody's trained properly, everybody's compliant, and the deeper appreciation for all that comes together, I guess, when you have a business background and all that stuff. And you've had a great partnership with someone in the family from a skin background, right? I mean,
so my sister-in-law, Dr. Anupriya Goel. So it's a unique combination. Generally, we don't have in a family business, a brother-in-law and sister-in-law working together and then running the business. But I think it's worked for us. And so she's the medical director of the company. She looks at all the science and all the training, the medicine bit. And what I do is I look at the business and the processes and operations.
Yeah, and I think that's something which I've found pretty consistently, that successful businesses have two people who are at the helm. Like one is focusing on operations, scalability, and all that, and one is more on the technical issues and the actual efficacy of treatments, the quality of treatments that are being delivered in the store. So I think that's worked out well for you.
Thank you.
So great. But also along the way, Berkowits actually has a fairly robust retailing brand. Right now, that seems unusual. I've found that your products are available online. I can go buy them. Don't need to come to your store to buy them, etc. So how and when did this retail journey start, and how did you get this figured out?
About 7 years ago. I mean, I think the first, the lowest hanging fruit was replacing the products that we were using in our clinics at that point for retail already, and replacing them with products that we actually believed in, or products where we had controls. We had a control over the formulation. And at that time as well, what we were looking at was that there was a growing D2C product. It was no longer, you didn't need a distribution channel. You could just list online and you would start selling your products. We started about 7-8 years ago. We built these formulations from scratch. We sampled all the best products that we liked, figured out, spent a lot of time reading labels and Googling them. What does this do? What does this do? And and then made our own formulations that we thought really work, sampled them, and then introduced them to our clinics, listed them online as well. By that time, however, we then realized that, D2C went through this phase where you had to burn a lot of money to get any kind of sales online. And we decided that we don't want to play that game right now. So we very willingly slightly stepped away from it. But yes, our products are still available online. We are not So we have a simple policy: we won't burn money to sell our products, and I think we just believe that a good product will automatically reach the customer's house.
And your 50 stores
course.
are a point of awareness for people to
Yeah.
come to know about your product,
Yeah.
and then they can go buy it from
Exactly.
anywhere. And you also said that's another way. I think you find that you keep your customers engaged, like, on a ongoing basis, or lot of times they may not come back into the store, but
Yeah.
the product is a way that you
Yeah.
maintain the relationship.
So I think even home care is a very important part of delivering results for us. So if what we are essentially tracking at our end is that, for example, if a hair tonic should last 3 months, and if a customer hasn't made a purchase for the last 4 months, 4.5, we'll give them a slight nudge that maybe they're not using it regularly and how important it is to deliver results. So it helps us in that, and obviously we are able to service our customers who move to maybe other locations, who want a home care solution instead, who do not want an in-clinic solution. Uh, so our range of products does help with that, yes.
So Arpit, while you've built this business, of course, organically over the years, and it's been quite a journey for overall. But more recently, you've actually done some inorganic activity where you've acquired a business, and so maybe you should give us some color into how did you decide that you were ready for this? Because it is, it's a different DNA to say, let's go acquire a business and merge it in.
So in 2017-18 is when we opened our first clinic outside of Delhi NCR, which is our home ground.
Mm-hmm.
And that was our pilot to see if we could remotely manage a clinic. We opened 2 together, and I think we had some learnings from there. We understood, okay, what works, what isn't working, what are we doing right, what are we not doing right. That gave us the initial confidence that we'll be able to remotely manage locations. From there, we organically grew to around 2022 before this acquisition, where we acquired around 27 clinics to become approximately 50 today. These 27 locations, I think we had the belief, one, that we'll be able to integrate them to our systems. The second belief we had was that our systems work. If our systems are followed, that would lead to a positive outcome. But yes, we had to build our team before we did that. All of us, I think, worked slightly, a little bit of overtime also, because we were always short of hands to help us with the integration. And the all the systems, the LMS. Then I think one other system that we implemented was that we do operational audits, and we use a software where there is this checklist uploaded, and the auditor has to then click pictures and upload them. And we generally try and reach out to every process essentially in that audit. So it's about a series of 6 to 7 audits that we want to do monthly. We made a special task force in-house, which we call the takeover force, and we would have a team go out to and sit in that clinic, at least a person for the first 5-6 days, handhold the existing staff. But yes, I think the journey is still continuing. We are still the culture integration is something that we're trying to work hard on, because that, I think, it will take time. The process integration can happen first, but culturally it does take time.
So interesting. See, so to do an M&A, fundamentally, you first need to have good processes and systems of your own business, which you have conviction in, so that you're confident that when you're acquiring a business, these systems and processes will probably make that business perform better than what it is.
Exactly.
So the deal makes sense. And then actually you need a playbook to actually make that acquisition happen, whether it's processes. And then, as you pointed out, culture tends up being one of the things which takes the most long lead time. Great. And so going forward, now you're at a certain scale. I don't recollect how many cities you are in, but how do you envision the future, growth trajectory of your business in particular, and even in general in terms of the industry of overall skin services?
So really positive on the overall industry. I think across the globe, trends like as income increases, disposable income increases, the spend on beauty treatments also has increased in almost every possible case. We are in a position where we also have multiple different So what we've seen, at least in our so we've seen tier 2 cities and tier 1 cities both respond positively to such treatments. Then in India, we have the unique concept of financing available as well for beauty treatments, which I think is a great innovation on our part, where you can get a hair transplant on an EMI and like a mobile phone, pay it in 10 months and have your hair for life. So I think that will increase market penetration, and that will ensure that there is a good growth rate, industry growth rate at least. In terms of what we at Berkowits have envisioned, we see ourselves, growing to approximately 100 clinics very soon. And with that, we want to also reach out and provide at-home treatment kits to customers. And these at-home treatment kits can reach out to people who perhaps do not have a good clinic around, or who want to also supplement their clinical treatments, with a good home care kit. That's what we want to do. Essentially, that is our vision.
Cool. And I think it's wonderful. So at the scale of 100 clinics, you'd be having so much impact on so many consumers, because I'm a firm believer that when people come to your stores, they're not just walking out looking good because they have hair and all that stuff, but they actually feel good. You actually can engage with life, and that self-confidence and boost of it, course, even in terms of being able to afford it using EMIs and all that, is a good thing, because you're not just spending money on something artificial. It is actually something which helps people feel good, in my view. And when people feel good, they tend to do very well in life. That's the main important thing. So
something that I often say to people is like, so a lot of people will say, why do I need hair? And this is all about vanity. So I tend to remind them that it's not about vanity, it's about the feeling of when the wind is playing with your hair. And it's that feeling that you're chasing and you want to get back to. And of course, like we have it written in our clinics, radiance is contagious. So that is, I agree with you. It's I think people who feel good often also look good.
Yes. Agreed.
Growth Diaries is brought to you by Zenoti, the software trusted by over 30,000 salons, spas, med spas, and fitness studios.
So, as you built this business, is there something you would have done differently if you look back?
I would have been perhaps faster with everything that I did. I was probably 6 months, 1 year too late to do it. But I think, in retrospect, we made the right decisions. But I think because we are bootstrapped, we tend to be slightly safety first in terms of our approach. Maybe would not have done that. But in hindsight, risk-reward ratio always is skewed. But I think now I know how it played out, so I would do everything sooner.
I feel the same way, that often in my business, I should have moved faster. But I think I can tell you that the solid foundations get built when you take your time. It's okay if it's off, but at the end you have a more lasting entity and organization kind of thing, right? So, great. And so, if you were in a sentence or two, why should someone choose Berkowits if I'm a consumer?
I think you choose Berkowits if you want results. You choose Berkowits if you want transparency. And you choose Berkowits if you want a hospitable experience. So these are the three core values that we stick to.
Is there a company or a person who's an inspiration to you? You look up to it and say that's a guideline?
I think there are many. And even the ones I feel that have perhaps not done well have lessons that I can use. But yes, I think, for example, there are a few competitors that are doing really well, Bodycraft, Traya, and in different spaces, and they've. It's exciting to me what they're doing. I think I find that very interesting.
Good to hear you say that. Not being successful is also a learning point, because a lot of times we learn more from failure if you're reading carefully, kind of thing. Great. And is there favorite motivational quote or thing which you share with your employees regularly?
Uh, yeah, actually, I think the motivational quote is okay. Let me think about it. This one.
No, it doesn't need to be a quote also. It's like a favorite motivational angle that you kind of really
Yeah.
lean on, kind of thing.
I think essentially what ownership is something that we want to build on, and at every given point, the reminder always is that if there is no one watching you, are you still doing the same work or you're not? And if the answer is always yes, then I think essentially you're meant to do that. You're supposed to do that. You'll excel at it. But if no one is watching and if no one will come to know whether you've done or contributed at all, and you decide to still do it, I think that's the answer. That means that you're in the right place, doing the right thing.
Cool. I think this is something which every business owner who's trying to expand into other cities grapples with, because I've just said that where even in the US, and I've talked to folks, I feel their biggest challenge is what will they do when I'm not watching, kind of thing, right? So I think you're right on in terms of saying that's a culture you want to instill in everyone. Great. So is there one trait or approach of how you go about doing your work every day that stands out, that probably contributes towards your company's success?
I think I am innovation first. Growth excites me, and I'm always excited about what's new in the market. I'm always excited about what new systems, processes we can build on, and that I think is something that what I've realized is that works for me. I am the person who will always be excited about growth. I will always be excited about what's new. I will be always excited with innovation, and I think my team, instead of what they have also realized about me is that at times they'll have to tell me that no, it's okay. This thing is 6 months away. This thing is a year away. Let's first focus on this particular thing. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because what is exciting to me, I will automatically always gravitate towards that. But it's good to have, I think, a team that will also bring in that check that we are not perhaps ready for it right now. It makes sense or it doesn't make sense. So yeah, and if when it works, it is great to see. Yeah.
Yeah, clearly, since you've moved the needle in terms of technology you've used within your business, I think curiosity and learning all the time are an important element. And I think especially in this field, it's changing so fast with a lot of innovation. And I'm sure there's a lot more innovation ahead of us.
I agree. I agree.
What kind of advice would you have for an entrepreneur starting off in this industry today?
I think big from the start. What I see, a lot of clinics are popping up, and they are perhaps, the vision is to open 1, 2, 3, maybe, they are not deep diving into the processes they need from day one, and they are not thinking about building 50, 100 clinics from day one. I think it's now doable. Today, you do not need to, capital is available. You can have that kind of a vision where you go in and say, I want to build a 50 clinic, 100 clinic, 150 clinic brand very quickly. So I think, yes, I still feel that there are many in the space who are not relying on processes, but are still relying on personal interactions with their clients or with their employees. Yes, that is as important, if not more important, but processes will help you with that confidence that you can take that same experience from 1 to perhaps 100.
Think big from the beginning is a good advice, because it would be good advice to me, because when I started Zenoti, I was not thinking big. I was just like, okay, I just want to build this software. I'm passionate about it, and later, so it takes time when you're not thinking big, because you take a little longer to get there.
I am just being Captain Hindsight here. That in hindsight, everything is as much simpler than it was when we were doing it. Yeah, but yes.
Great. So yeah, and so Arpit, thanks a lot for making the time, for being part of the Growth Diaries, and wish you all the most amount of success as you in the years ahead. And it's been wonderful to see you grow, and I got to know your business fairly early, and we've been working together for a while. So I wish you the very best. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sudhir, for having me on board. Great to meet you as always. And yes, super happy with Zenoti's growth. It feels like a part of us because, yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks. Yeah, cool.
Growth Diaries is brought to you by Zenoti.